Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Ron HD. So yeah, this is going to be a great time. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Ticket Tuesday. I am your host, Ronan Time HD, and today we just watched the film Men, a really fantastic film, and it's just so good, and I'll explain why back at the house.
You gotta tell me more than that.
I don't know, man. I don't know what to say, because I might just go on a whole rant about how good the film is and how much I love about it. So, I'm gonna save my rants and my whole, what do you call it? I guess I'll just give them the long monologues, just long paragraphs of me talking about how much I love it, because this film is just fantastic. The acting, the directing, the writing, the cinematography, the soundtrack, all stellar, and I'll tell you why back at the house.
A man followed me out of the woods. He was stalking me.
What makes you say that?
I saw him twice.
Twice? I don't know if he saw you once.
Well, play a game. You hide, I'll see.
You must feel an awful sense of guilt.
Stay away from me. Why are you doing that? What are you?
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Ticket Tuesday. I am your host, Ronan Time HD, and on this week, we watched Men, the new A24 film by writer-director Alex Garland, which is a, elevated horror? A little bit of elevated horror, weird, extreme cinema, weird experimental shit. It's really good, honestly, but, I think it's really enjoyable. But I say this every time, but this one is really not for everyone, because I feel like the kind of film that this is, the elevated, experimental, weird-ass, extreme cinema kind of film this is, that's kind of a niche. I feel like, not a super specific niche, it's just, extreme cinema is quite a bit of a niche that not everyone can appreciate. Wouldn't you agree? Sometimes there's that, I think, I'm not gonna actually really talk about really anything about, the plot of this movie. I'm just gonna talk about, what it, made me feel, the, impact, and, just, the atmosphere, how amazingly, written, directed, shot, acted, how amazing this film is on almost every, level on, a production standpoint. I think it was really well, just acted. The actors, I think the main character, she fucking carried this movie. And yeah, there's side characters here and there, but she was, there the whole time. She carried the whole film, and I wouldn't have it any other way. She is an amazing actress, and I think she should be in more roles, because she really acted her heart out in this movie, and you can tell. I was really invested because of how well she got into the scenes, how well she got into the character. She's such a brilliant actress, and, when she... Because there's, some points where she would, scream, because, she was grieving, she was, grieving, right? Because she was grieving, she was guilty, I suppose? Also, I feel like the real co-star of this film was her grief. The main character's grief, and it's just a brilliant film. I love this film, and, I say this a lot on my channel. I love when movies leave it up to interpretation, and this, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but this film really leaves it up to interpretation, and I love that. It's just so good. And, the shots, man, the shots are so interesting, so dynamic, so well... Everything, the directing, the writing, and there's not much dialogue, but when the dialogue is there, it really helps. The special effects, the CGI, the weird-ass shit that's going on at the end of the film. Oh, man. I think the film film really made me feel a lot of things. You know, I feel like it really made me feel, like, scared at some points. Like, this film can be legitimately scary near the middle. It made me feel, like, bewildered at some points, disgusted. Like, the body horror elements at the end. I'm not gonna say what kind of body horror, but there was a lot of, like, body horror at the end of it. But, like, the body horror part at the end, it's just so... Like, I'm not a person that's usually... I think the most effective horror for me is body horror. Like, I had a scary monster, whatever, killer scary. I think body horror is scary because, like, that's your body. You know what I mean? Like, that's happening to you. Like, that's happening to someone else's body that they... It's, like, not like a monster they can run from. It's, like, something going on with them. And that really, like, kind of is scary to me. And the ending was, like, really disgusting and vile, but yet so interesting. Like, you could not keep your eyes off the screen. Like, you wanted to look away, but you just couldn't because of how amazing it looked. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just... The film is so... Like, it's really beautifully shot. The colors in the scene are really interesting, too. I really like the colors. And I just think the film was really interesting. Like, I think the... Oh, man. The score, too. The score was very haunting, but I loved it. I think the score was really, really great. And I actually ended up really... Like, honestly, if this score came out on vinyl, I would buy it. I would listen to this soundtrack, unironically. Like, the soundtrack is genuinely amazing. And I think it really helps that I'm a fan of, like, horror kind of, like, horrorcore kind of music. I don't know. I just like music that's, like, scary. I like music that has, like, a, like, haunting element that makes you, like, freaked out. I like that kind of music because it adds another layer of enjoyment to it. Like, and this really had that. Like, I think the main theme of the movie is, like, both haunting and really intriguing at the same time. Like, the way they composed it and the way it's, like, it's scary, but it's also really, like, really good song. Like, I really like listening to it. And it really made you think, because the end of the movie, it answered some things, but most things were still left unanswered. You know? And I like that. It lets the audience think, maybe this happened, maybe that happened. And it was amazing. Like, it just really made me think. Like, after the movie, it was, like, the whole time I was just thinking about it. I was just thinking, like, did this happen? Did that happen? Like, it just really, this movie is really intriguing. It's really interesting. The story is really strong. And honestly, it can be really nerve-wracking at a lot of points. Like, it's really suspenseful. Like, the suspense, the absolute, like, and also a thing I like, there's, like, no jump scares in this movie. It's all, like, it goes silent from time to time, but that's when it's suspenseful. That's when, like, the suspense is building. And when it goes quiet, it's like, it's not getting ready for a jump scare. It's just, like, the suspense is building, so the music stops. And it gets all quiet, and you're, like, your heart, like, it sinks, right? You get more nervous, and you get, like, oh, no, what's gonna happen? Not like, oh, no, there's gonna be a jump scare. Like, you think, oh, no, what's gonna happen next? I love that. Like, I love how this film actually felt like a horror film to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it felt like a film that was actually scary at points. And it was scary when it wanted to be. And I really think also really liked the imagery. Like, the imagery was amazing. The message of it all, too. Like, the message was really deep, and I think not a lot of people talk about. Like, not enough people talk about the message that the film is trying to get at. And I ended up really liking the main character. Like, she was really, like, you could really feel for her. Like, you feel bad for the situation that she's in, and that, like, it's just kind of sad, the situation that she's in, and that, like, she has nobody, except for, like, one person in the movie that is there for her, but, like, nobody else is. Well, maybe not, actually. Only, like, one person is actually there for her, and it's just, it's so weird. The end of the movie, it's a great conclusion. I think the conclusion really wraps things up for me. Like, I think a thing about a movie is, I don't want answers for all the movies that I watch, you know? I want something to be giving me questions and not only answers. Because if there's only answers in the movie, then you'll have nothing to think about by the end of it. You know, by the end of it, you'll just be like, oh, this happened, that was cool. But you won't be thinking by the end, what happened here? What happened to this? What happened to that? Who's this? Who's that? Whatever. Like, you won't have questions by the end of the movie because they'll all be answered. You know? And I just like movies that give you questions that they never answer and they let you pick the answer. I appreciate films that let the audience think for once and let the audience think for themselves and not just spoon feed them all the answers to the story. I like when there's bits and pieces of the story like ripped out of it so that, you know, the audience can fill in those pieces. I appreciate that. And I love directors and writers that do that kind of thing. Like, I gain a new form of respect for directors and writers that do that. And I really think I need to watch Alex Garland's other films, like Ex Machina and Annihilation. I think I need to watch those as well, because I was really, really into this movie. And actually, another thing I'm going to mention, like, the first act and, like, halfway through the second act, like, the first half of the second act and the whole first act was kind of slow. It was really slow-paced. It was kind of, nothing really happened in the first act and the first half of the second act. Nothing happened. But I think that really shows when shit starts to happen by the second half of the second act, it really just kicks into high gear, right? Like, shit starts happening, and, like, you start questioning what's going on, and then the story starts going in through flashbacks, and, man, I could talk about this movie all day, because it's just so good, and I highly, highly recommend this movie. If you're a fan of elevated horror, if you're a fan of horror, if you're a fan of like, body horror, you would like this. If you're a fan of, like, movies that make you think, movies that really get in your head, movies that make you, like, movies that you remember after you watch it, like, movies that stick with you. I think this film really stuck with me after I watched it. And, like, the whole ending scene, it will stick in my head for a long time. And honestly, I would probably, when this movie comes out on, like, Blu-ray or 4K or whatever, I want to watch it again. I want to rewatch it, because this film is really, in my opinion, incredibly well made. A lot of effort and love was put into this film, and you can tell. Man. I just really like this film, and I really want you to watch it. And honestly, I'm gonna get to the rating. So I think I'm gonna rate this film. I was going to originally give it an 8, but now, like, talking about it, I realize how much I love it, so I'm going to give it a 9. I give this film a 9 out of 10. I haven't given a 9 out of 10 in a while, but this film deserves it. I think this film is definitely one of my most favorite films that I've watched on Ticket Tuesday in a while. Like, this is up there. It's just, it made me realize how much I love the horror genre. Like, it reintroduced me to my love for the horror genre and how much I appreciate films that are made like it. And I just want more movies like that, you know, like the movie that it is. And man, I can't wait for whatever project Garland has ready next. If he's making anything anytime soon, I'm definitely going to go see it, and I'm definitely going to watch his other 2 films. Yeah, this film's brilliant. I'd highly recommend it. Go out and watch it. If it's available at your theater, I would highly recommend you go out and watch it. Give it some love. You know, support your local theater. You know, do what you can. Tell the industry you want this, and tell it to them now by going and seeing this movie. Watch it. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you leave a like, you know, share it with your friends, subscribe, turn those notifications on, comment down below. You know what? I'm your host, Ronan Time HD. But wait, I think I forgot something. You know what I forgot? I didn't really mean any of that. You know what I really meant to say was if you guys hated this video, unsubscribe just so I can tell me how much you hate me in the comments. Signing off. Nice, right in the basket. Alright. see you guys in the next episode of Tiki Tuesday. Or the next episode of Off the Shelf or Quick Quips or Temple of Kung Fu or SOV Spotlight if I ever get to doing that again. We'll see.
Goodness.
I had a lot to say.
Yeah, we should watch.
Going and going and like.
You have to say it keeps going and going.
But no, hang on. Yeah, cut that part out. Cut that part out.